break in and make one more personal connection. And Carolyn, Ed Walters, he's at the Ed and Sue. There we go. So Wayne, do you want to unmute yourself so you can easily chime in? So basically, it is my great pleasure to introduce to all of you the Reverend Dr. Carolyn Schneider, and she earned her PhD in church history from Princeton. And she was our colleague and friend and neighbor when Wayne and I were serving in Hong Kong. So you can decide for yourselves which of those things is most important. And she has, after finishing her term in Hong Kong, she spent some time in Mexico learning Spanish, right? And I'm sure, yeah, she'll tell you whatever she wants to tell you. And yeah, she was born in the Philippines, so that's another super interesting thing to me. You were actually physically born there, right? Because her parents were Missouri Synod Lutheran missionaries there at the time.
I was born in St. Luke's Hospital.
Oh, wow.
In the Philippines. Wow. Is that
Yeah.
cool?
Your namesake.
That's the neighbor of my school.
Oh, wow.
Joseph's College. You can
Uh-huh.
graduate school from St. Joseph's College. Quezon.
Well, I was not aware of all of that at the time that I was born there, but
Yes, Quezon City. Our pediatrician was there at St. Luke.
Ah. And now you're still at St. Luke's.
Yeah,
So Carolyn, I'll just let you start by saying whatever you want to tell us about yourself, and then if we have time, maybe we'll do just a few questions as well. So hit it, Carolyn.
Okay. Well, let's see. We've already talked about a lot of the things that I was going to talk about. So I'm just really grateful to be here with you and thankful for your invitation, because it means that you are really serious about being part of a global church, and that you understand yourselves as kind of like Christians without borders. Like Krista was just talking about, a community beyond the walls, I think was the word that you were using. So it's just nice to be part of that community with you and to share with you the work that is going on at Union Theological Seminary, where I'm working in the Philippines. It's located in a city called Dasmariñas, which is a little bit south of Manila.
Sorry.
Oh. And the semester began on July 1st, so I'm working already, even though I have never been there. I myself have never seen the campus in person because of the COVID restrictions on travel and visa. So the school is operating 100% online this semester because nobody can move around to get to the campus, and it's not safe to have in-person classes. In the Philippines, their numbers of COVID are rising just like they are here. So we're working online, which means that the first-year students have also never seen their campus. They've never been there. And we actually have a record enrollment this year, big classes. I'm not sure why that is, but maybe people are just taking the opportunity to further their education because they can't really work in the same way that they can under normal circumstances. So anyway, I'm hard at work on this computer all the time, every day, teaching in the Philippines at Union Seminary. So that means I do a lot of my work early in the morning and late at night, because there's a 13-hour time difference between here and there. They're 13 hours ahead of us, or maybe 14 hours even ahead of you, because you're behind me in Wisconsin. I'm living in Madison, Wisconsin. So this is where I am right now and what I'm doing. and I want to share some slides with you, and I'm going to try this. Wayne and Krista know that I'm not a very good techie, but I will do my very best to share my screen with you so that we can look at these slides together. So just a moment, let me get to it, and I think it's going to work. Wow. Okay. Let me start my slideshow. There we go. Can you see it, everybody?
Yep.
Excellent. So I was born in the Philippines, as you have heard. So that is my mom and dad. My dad was a Lutheran pastor at Trinity Lutheran Church in Quezon City. And that little one there is me. That's the day of my baptism on May 5th, 1963, at St. Luke's in Quezon City. So I'm not a stranger to the Philippines, even though I've never been to the campus where I'm working. And I lived in the Philippines until I was 15, but not half of that time we were not in Manila or Quezon City. We were up in the mountains in Baguio City. Oh, and I see a reaction there from Angie, because Baguio City at that time was really beautiful. It was called the City of the Pines. It was the summer resort of the president and so on. A very, very wonderful place to grow up. And we went to school, my sister and brother and I went to school at an Episcopal international school there called Brent School. And that was just a magical experience for all three of us. And having that international experience made me love stories about people living in other times and other places. And so when I got to go to college, I majored in history and went on, as Krista was saying, to earn a PhD in the history of Christian doctrine at Princeton Theological Seminary. And then I was ordained in the Lutheran Church, and then following my graduation, I taught church history and theology for 12 years at Texas Lutheran University in Seguin, Texas, a small town near San Antonio.
Yeah.
I'm sorry? Okay, I thought someone was asking a question, but nope. All right. So
It's her mom and dad. It's her.
And so after 12 years teaching in Seguin, I did the risky move of leaving a tenured position in order to learn more about the church in Egypt. So I volunteered teaching in Egypt for a year while I was writing a book about a 4th century Egyptian Christian sermon on love and self-control. And after that, I got called by the Lutheran Church to teach church history at the Lutheran Seminary in Hong Kong. And that's where I met your two pastors, and also one of the other people that you'll have on your series here, Dorcas Wang, she's working in China. So I really, really loved my students and the work that I did in the classroom in Hong Kong, because the students were so excited about learning church history and about doing their work and becoming well prepared as leaders in their own churches, in their own countries. It was also an international environment with students from many countries. So after my 4-year contract ended, I looked for a similar kind of work. And as you heard, I was in Mexico while I was doing this job hunting. And it was in Mexico that I got the call to join with the United Methodist Church's General Board for Global Missions, teaching at this seminary in the Philippines, at Union Seminary. I had no idea, that was February. I had no idea that COVID was coming or that I would have to be doing this online or any of that at that time. So it's been a learning experience for me. So we've already talked a little bit about the Philippines. Here's a map so you can see it. And the Philippines is made up of so many islands. I forgot the number that you said, but it's many, many islands. And so it's multicultural and it's multilingual. And of all of the countries in Asia, the Philippines is the one with the highest percentage of Christians. 94% are Christian. And about 2% follow indigenous primal religions, and about 4% follow Islam. And those who are Muslim live mostly in the southern region of the Philippines. So on the map, you might see the city of Davao, for instance, or Zamboanga. That's where most of the Muslims live in the Philippines. You already heard how the Philippines was a colony of Spain for more than 300 years, from 1565 to 1898. And the first missionaries there were Augustinian monks from Mexico. So I feel a connection with those Augustinian monks because I'm going to the Philippines also from Mexico. And then in 1898, you heard about the Philippine-American War, after which the United States took control of the Philippines until Philippine independence in 1946. And it was under US control that the doors were open in the Philippines for Protestant missionaries to enter. And the seminary where I'm teaching at is a result of the Protestant missions that came to the Philippines at that time. Union Theological Seminary was founded in 1907, and it was called Union because it was a united seminary of the Methodist Church and the Presbyterian Church. And since that time, many other churches have become part of Union Theological Seminary. It was originally located in Manila, but and it still has a small branch in Manila, but the main campus is in Dasmariñas, and it's, as I've said, I've never been there, but I've seen pictures, and it's lovely. It's this big green lush campus. There's a farm on the campus, and so I'm looking forward to seeing it in person. But the new campus was built in 1962, and the seminary has been a very active participant in the life of the church, not only in the Philippines, but also throughout Asia. For example, the first Philippine president of the seminary, his name was Benjamin Guansing. He was one of the founders of the Association of Theological Education in Southeast Asia, which is the accrediting body for all of the seminaries in Asia. So the Philippines, the Union Theological Seminary has been an active participant in building up leadership for the churches in Asia. And part of that vision is to make sure that theological education is pertinent to the realities of Asia, that is contextualized within Asia. And so the seminary, in addition to having academic classes, also has experiential centers. There are 7 centers, and they are Ecumenics, Justice, and Peace. Number 2, Pastoral Care. Number 3, Gender and Sexuality. Number 4, Arts, Liturgy, and Music. Number 5, Wesleyan Studies. Number 6, Geocentric Applied Theology, and that has to do with the farm on the campus. And number 7, the Center for Spiritual Formation. And I am the convener of the Center for Spiritual Formation, in addition to teaching my courses in church history and in world religions for students in the bachelor's, master's, and lay training programs. So that's what I do. I got a little interview kind of question from your pastor, Krista, to help me prepare for this presentation. And she asked me some really interesting questions on that little questionnaire. So one of the things that she asked me is, so in this church and in this country and in this culture, what are some gifts that Union Theological Seminary or the Philippine churches have to share with the rest of the world? So I came up with this little list of keywords that popped into my head when I think about this country's gifts and cultural talent that they can share with the rest of the world. And these are the words: enthusiasm, passion, curiosity, flexibility, openness, patience, and grace. So for example, the seminary, as it was preparing to start this semester, had to ask, are we ready to do online education? And I think the answer was, no, we are not, but we're going to do it anyway, and we're just going to help each other get through it. And it's an example, I think, of that kind of gift that a Philippine Christian community can offer to the world. It doesn't have to be perfect. We will work our way through it together. And that comes from all these words: enthusiasm, passion, curiosity, flexibility, openness, patience, and grace. So for me, that's the big gift that this church has to share. The next question I was asked was about challenges that face the church in this part of the world. And I think there are two. One is the challenge of widespread poverty in the Philippines. And I think the second challenge, and these are related, the second challenge is an increasingly harsh government. And I hear this from my students when they write their papers, when they respond to the assignments that I give them. Many of them will talk about a recent anti-terror law. And they'll talk about how this has enabled the government to do what is called red tagging. And red tagging means identifying or labeling a group. And the new law gives wide scope for arrests of people within those groups. And the problem for the churches is that some of the churches now are being red tagged. So for example, the United Church of Christ in the Philippines, many of our students are from that church, has been red tagged. And the National Council of Churches in the Philippines has also been red tagged, which means that Christians are feeling vulnerable. They're feeling a little at risk, especially if they've been engaged in activism. And these are churches that have been very engaged in movements for human rights within the Philippines. For example, for the rights of indigenous peoples, indigenous tribal peoples, for land reform, against extrajudicial killings, particularly connected to the war on drugs in the Philippines. These are churches and groups that have been active in promoting peace talks, particularly between the government and, for example, Muslim rebels in the South. So one of the slogans that I'll hear from my students often is, activism is not terrorism, because they're afraid a little bit of these arrests that might happen. So there's the challenges, I think, are poverty, the church's efforts to address the issues related to poverty, and their growing sense that the government does not support them in those efforts. I think this is the big challenge facing the churches and my students in the Philippines right now. We can talk more about that later, but the last question on my little interview was, how can we support you or accompany you or be partners with you in this ministry? And so I made a little list here, and I'll share this PowerPoint with you so that you have this list. That you can check out the new website of the seminary. I don't think it's actually functioning yet, but you can keep checking. And there's the address. I am in the process now as the convener of the Center for Spiritual Formation in putting together a litany for the healing of the nations. And when it goes live, you'll be able to join us for a Zoom webinar when we pray for 85 nations of the world and for peace in those places. And of course, the Philippines is named among those 85 nations, as is the United States. You can always, at any time, use the seminary's Facebook page to send texts, right? Messages of blessing for the students. And there's the address, the Facebook address. And you can pray for the students, faculty, and staff of the seminary as we struggle through online education and we face the challenges of the Philippines and of the world. You can join my newsletter list by sending me an email. There's my email address. And you can support me financially through the United Methodist Church's Advance program. My advance number is there on the screen, and I go to support me either as a congregation or as an individual at that link. And that's all I'm going to say, because I want to leave plenty of room to talk with you for your questions and answers. So let me stop sharing now, and I'm back.
I just wanted to quick say that that litany for the healing of the nations, I remember so well when I think you did it not long after you arrived in Hong Kong at our chapel in Hong Kong, and it was so impressive. And but I do also remember that you borrowed a tree that a little shrub or tree or something that we had out in a pot outside, so that we could literally do the what is that part of it?
It comes from Revelation chapter 22, where it's the vision of the new city, the new Jerusalem coming down out of heaven from God. And there's a river flowing from the throne of the Lamb in the center of the city. And on the sides of the river are the trees of life, bearing fruit in every season. And the leaves are for the healing of the nations. So what we did was we took a leaf from your tree and we put it on the globe as we were praying for the different parts of the world. So thank you for sharing your tree of life.
Yes, it was beautiful. It was beautiful. So we'll definitely be looking for that. And I just also want to say that we as a congregation are beginning to explore possibilities for having us as a church body be in a supportive relationship. But as always, what's so exciting about being involved in global mission is it's always such a two-way street, and we just need each other. We need people who are out living in different parts of the world and part of the church in a different part of the world, so that we can learn together what it means to be Christ's body everywhere. So thank you so much, Carolyn. Wayne, did you have some, I saw you taking notes, and I'm guessing you may have one or two follow-up questions first.
It's so good to see you, Carolyn. It's been around, I think, 3 years, huh? Something like that. Yeah, and as Krista said, Carolyn lived right below us, so she could hear everything that we said and the parties that we had upstairs. And And well, one thing I was just interested in, even though you're not there in the Philippines, how do you, compare the students with Hong Kong, with so far, with what, the students that you're meeting through Zoom in the Philippines?
The students at the seminary in the Philippines are younger. There's no doctoral program at the seminary in the Philippines. So we don't, or even an MTH program, a Master's of Theology program. So we don't have the older, more experienced people at the seminary. So I'm getting a lot of very youthful kinds of responses to the assignments.
Hmm.
Can you, would it be appropriate for you just to share a few of the insights that you've already received from your young students in the Philippines?
Well, let's see. I have been co-teaching a course with a colleague, a Filipino colleague at the seminary on early church history. And so we've gotten up to about the 4th century now, which means we've just passed through the persecutions of the church in the 3rd century in the Roman Empire, and we've begun looking at persecution of the church in the 4th century in the Persian Empire. And the students are just zooming in on this notion of persecution, because it relates with what I was talking about before with the anti-terror law. They're beginning to feel persecuted. And that's maybe too strong a word for what's actually going on right now, but they're beginning to see connections between themselves and the early church as we go through these readings about the tension between the church and the state in the early church.
Where do your students come from? I mean, why do
They're
they
all
come?
Filipino, but they're from all over the Philippines.
Okay. I mean,
So
what
they
brings
don't
them
all
there?
they don't all speak the same language. So it means, for example, in the history class, we have 45 students in this class. It's huge. So we've divided them up into small groups to work on they have 3 projects that they have to do throughout the semester. And we've divided them up linguistically so that all the people who speak Tagalog are together in small groups, and the people who speak Cebuano are together in small groups. And I think we have the people who speak Ilocano are together in small groups. So we have to bear that in mind, that even the students themselves don't speak all the same language. We teach in English, but that's a struggle for the students too, to read and to write in English. I have a question, I think, Angie. I saw your hand go up. You're muted.
My parents were Ilocano,
Uh-huh.
one from Baguio and one from Ilocos.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
But I don't understand why they're having they're struggling with English, because we learn it from 1st grade. So I don't understand why that is, because I didn't struggle with it.
Well,
It's a new thing for me to hear that.
yeah. Well, maybe it's because they're trying to read material that is maybe just a little bit more sophisticated than what they read when they were going to
Yes,
school.
there was a change.
Uh-huh.
There probably was a change in the way they're teaching now.
Maybe, I don't know. Yeah. I don't know.
Can you elaborate just a little bit on the source of conflict between the government and these churches that you say are now being red tagged, I think it was?
It's not all the churches that are being red tagged. It's those that are very involved in pushing for human rights in the Philippines. So if they're very active in, for example, joining in protest movements, or yeah, that's where I mostly hear about it. People joining in protest movements, usually for land reform, or for the rights of indigenous people, which is often connected to land reform, or yeah, that's the main thing that I hear about. Or yeah, these churches are the ones that are in particular being red tagged. So it's perceived as communist or socialist to try to push for land reform, because it means dividing the land. Because right now there's a small percentage that owns the majority of the land. So that connection is being made, and those who are engaged in protests are the ones that are red tagged. So that's why the slogan is activism is not terrorism, because it's not everybody that's being targeted, just those who are activists.
A quick follow-up question with that. How about the Catholic Church? Is the Catholic Church also experiencing any of that type of red tagging?
Some are. I read a story online about a nun who was arrested as an activist because of her decades of work on behalf of poor people where she was living. So as an institution, the Catholic Church is not red tagged, but individuals within the Catholic Church who may be working as activists can be red tagged. Yeah.
Do you find that there's a freedom of speech? Can people talk about the president, Duterte? And
They certainly do.
you do? Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
You mentioned red tag. What happens to a person or an organization that is red tagged? Are they forbidden to do certain things in public?
They're imprisoned.
They're actually imprisoned.
Uh-huh.
Like,
I don't know for how long. I mean, I imagine that after some time they are released, but I don't know what happens after that. No. I think that I mean, they would know that they're being watched.
Is it there's still no help there, right? Like here, we have help. We have the stimulus, we have the unemployment, but over there they still don't have it, right? Because they
You
didn't
know-
have it when I was growing up.
Yeah, I don't think they have anything like that. The Philippines has the most strict lockdown because of COVID in the world. So there are some areas of the Philippines where the numbers of COVID cases are very, very high, and you can't leave your house unless you have a permit that says that you have a reason to leave your house, that maybe if you're a nurse or something like that. And then other areas of the Philippines where the cases are not so high is a little bit more lenient. You can go to your job, but yeah, the restrictions are very, very strict in the Philippines because of COVID. So that's why I can't go. There are no flights, except if you're delivering cargo, especially medical supplies, or if you are working as a relief worker, you can go. But I can't go because the government is not issuing visas. They don't want people coming into the country right now. So COVID's bad there. Yeah.
I think,
They're about to start school. They're usually the semester begins in mid-June, but because of COVID, they postponed it so that they could prepare. And now they're going to open next week, just like here in the States. And everybody's worried about that, what's going to happen when the schools reopen. They'll have something like what we have here, a kind of blended model, depending on how it's going in your region. You could have all online, you might have in person, you might have some combination of the two.
I think that there's a significant U.S. Navy base in the Philippines and probably other bases. I was just going to ask how are, maybe Angie has answered it already with Friendship Day, but I was just going to ask, how does the public perceive the United States?
Those bases were there when I was born and when I was growing up, but they have since been turned over to the Philippines. So the US doesn't have bases in the Philippines anymore. They did. The big naval base that you're thinking of is Subic Bay, which is in the town of Olongapo, south of Manila. But the bases are now Philippine.
Can you own large areas of property, or does the government control this, such as a farm?
I'm sorry, can you say it again?
Can you control or own large farms, areas of property, or does the government control what you can procure?
Philippine citizens do own their own land. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
I was going to comment that my cousin married a gal from Philippines, and they have recently been going back there yearly and are actually considering retiring there. There's a large, at Subic Bay, there's a large American presence there. And he was in the Navy when he was over there.
It's a beautiful country. It's really beautiful. Yeah.
Well, I have a question again. When we were in Hong Kong and we were taking turns at Amazing Grace, and there were it's a ministry for Filipino workers there, and when I talked with them at that time, Duterte was really coming down hard on drug traffickers, really very, very hard. And you know, from here, do you hear what? And they were glad, from what I could, from when I talked with them, they were glad that Duterte was coming very hard on the drug traffickers. I don't. Do you detect any kind of difference? Do you? And this is also for Angie too. You know, from her relatives. Has there been a change or a more of a sense of sympathy for those families in which those people have been killed, or what do you think?
The people, I think at the beginning, when Duterte was first elected, people were very hopeful that that was going to solve a lot of the problems with drugs and trafficking in the Philippines. I think now people are maybe seeing the war on drugs as a way to mask a larger effort to go after people without needing a warrant or without needing any proof. So I think now people are less hopeful about it. They think that that war on drugs has become something more than a war on drugs, and that it's become something dangerous. I don't know, Angie, would you say something like that?
Yes, because they're bypassing you're bypassing the way to, prosecute people, the legal way. So they identify these people and they just get them.
Right.
And sometimes it's good, like if you have bad people in your neighborhood, they'll get them. But the problem is there's no way to prove it. So even the innocent are gonna be killed. It's just not a good way to do it.
Hmm.
Yeah, and this is one of the things that people are activists about, that they're doing protests about. So it leads into the red tagging and yeah.
I'm curious about your students, you know, where they come from, why they're taking these classes. Are they preparing for something that comes later? You know, what's their motivation?
They're all preparing for ministry in the church in one way or another, and they're not all from the same church body. There is quite a variety among them. I would say the two biggest are the United Church of Christ in the Philippines and the United Methodist Church in the Philippines. So they're funny because they're very young. I'm getting older, so everyone's very young now. But my very young students all call each other pastor. And they may be only 18 years old, but because they're placed within a congregation so that they can begin to practice ministry, they refer to each other all as pastor. So this is what they're doing. They're preparing for ministry in the church, mostly ordained ministry.
Can they enroll right out of high school after graduation?
Yeah, they can, because the seminary offers a Bachelor of Theology program. So many of them are getting their bachelor's at the seminary. That is their college. Yeah.
You get them as young as 16, actually.
Yeah.
They graduate early over there, 16.
Oh, well, I don't know if we have any quite that young, but they're pretty young.
Do you
Do
have any?
you have men and women?
Yes, both. Mhm.
Okay.
Do you
Most
have
of the,
any?
I'm sorry, most of the churches, most of the Protestant churches do ordain women in the Philippines.
Do you have any students that are non-Christian, such as Jewish or Muslim or other?
I'm not aware of any. No, I have some students who are I'm teaching class called World Religions and New Religious Movements. And so I had them in small groups explore some new religious movements that they were curious about, and they could choose which ones they wanted to explore. And so a large number of them were very curious about Satanism. So I know that they're interested in a lot of things that are not Christian, and they're curious about those things, but I think officially at least all of them are Christian. Yeah.
What about Catholic?
I don't think we have any Catholic students because there's so many other seminaries that are Catholic that a Catholic student could go to.
Let's see.
Yeah.
How about any Lutherans? Do you have any Lutherans? Or-
No, we don't, because the Lutheran Church in the Philippines also has its own seminary. And it's very tiny. The Lutheran Church in the Philippines is a teeny tiny church. So really all their pastoral candidates would go to the Lutheran seminary.
About how big is that church, that Lutheran church in the Philippines?
Wow. I don't know now in terms of numbers. Yeah, I don't know,
Just
but
curious.
small. Maybe 2,000, something like that.
Is the Lutheran seminary pan-Lutheran?
It's a Lutheran Church of the Philippines seminary, and the Lutheran Church in the Philippines has had a very painful history. It started as a Missouri Synod mission. And then, I don't know, maybe sometime in the 80s, started receiving funding for projects from the Lutheran World Federation. So it became a member of the Lutheran World Federation, but the Missouri Synod is not a member of the Lutheran World Federation. So that caused a lot of conflict in the Lutheran Church in the Philippines. So that in the 1990s, there was a split in the already tiny Lutheran Church in the Philippines, but it was a bad split that required finally for the Philippine court system to get involved
dear.
to try to find a solution.
Mhm.
And finally, I think it was around 2000, they were able to reconcile and to come back together as one church body with one seminary and one track to ordination.
Mhm.
But it's a kind of fragile, it's a fragile church, yeah.
I understand.
Mm.
If questions are dying down, the next thing we were supposed to do is learn some words. And if you picked up your packet, you have a sheet of paper that has some in them, but I don't know. I know Angie is prepared. She's the one who prepared the pronunciation for us. Anybody else wants to jump in there, please do. Angie, would you like to lead us in learning how to say a few of these?
Okay, we'll get a couple. Like good morning is magandang umaga. Magandang umaga.
Magandang umaga.
And thank you is salamat.
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 That's easy.
Love it.
So Jesus loves you is mahal ka ni Jesus.
Mahal ka ni Jesus.
Ni Jesus.
So you just add those adjectives in the end. You have to figure out the seniority of the person you're talking to. Now, my grandfather, I would say, mahal kita, I love you. Mahal kita, mahal, you say magandang umaga po. Add the po if it's a much older person.
All my students call me Po.
Oh.
Really, you say ho. An older person.
Us.
How many languages do you know, Pastor?
Because I study church history, I've studied a lot of languages, but just for reading. So I don't,
okay.
like I've studied Coptic, but nobody speaks Coptic. It's an old language, you know. So in terms of actually speaking a language, the one that I've come the furthest in is Spanish because of my 1.5 years living in Mexico, taking Spanish lessons.
Okay.
So
Thank
there's some words in Tagalog that come from Spanish because of the Spanish presence in the Philippines for so long. So for example, the word for horse is caballo in Spanish and in Tagalog because they didn't have horses before the Spanish came. So it's the same word.
Interesting.
So if we're kind of done with words, the next thing to talk about is food. I don't know, it was great for, Angie sent us recipes. I don't know how many of you got to make them or try them yet, but Angie, would you talk to us a little about foods in the Philippines?
Oh,
And show us your food. She has some.
the banana egg rolls.
And egg rolls. Oh, wow.
Yummy, yummy, yummy. And
Oh.
easy to make. They take time, but they're easy.
Are they
Really?
or savory?
Sweet.
Yeah, and if you have jackfruit, you can put strips of jackfruit in there.
Fried bananas.
Well, food in the Philippines, basically gluten-free.
Mm.
I remember summers at my grandma, she didn't even have flour in the house.
Wow.
Do you have any questions on this?
No, I just wanted to make it and I didn't have any time, but I kept the paper because it looks like fabulous.
Right.
In terms of seasoning, we don't use a lot of spices like here. So for salt, we use fish sauce. And we also use the anchovies, the salted anchovies.
Okay. Mhm.
Really?
And then we use a lot of garlic and onions.
How about pepper or spicy foods? Do you have that?
The black pepper, yes. But it's not, even that is not very staple. You know, you can have it or not. So. But we do have the little pepper, we call that the silly. We call it silly. It's really tiny peppers. And it comes in green and red. And what's good is you put it in a jar of vinegar. So then you just season your food with it. So.
Are they hot?
Yes, really hot.
Oh.
But the main flavor, I think, is sweet and sour. So there's a lot of vinegar with sugar that you would make a sauce and put it on fish or cook vinegar and soy sauce with pork or chicken inside. So it's not a spicy cuisine, but more of a sweet and sour kind of cuisine. With
And
some
also
Chinese.
Regional, isn't it? Very regional.
Yes.
Like in my grandparents, we use a lot of vinegar, but we don't use soy sauce. Then in other places, they use soy sauce or peppers, hot peppers.
You mentioned fish sauce. Do people buy the fish sauce or do they make it?
We buy it, but you can make it. I know how to make it.
I'm curious about that because how do you make fish sauce?
You know, you take this little fish, put it in a jar and put it a lot of salt, and then just put it in your cupboard. Then it stays there for a long time. It's so gross, right? Anyway, what happens is now the salt will just cook that fish and just ferment it. And then pretty soon you're gonna see a golden liquid that's separated from the brown. So the what you see in the bottles is the golden liquid, but you can also use the brown ones to flavor your food. So.
Angie,
Yeah.
you mentioned that your, I believe, aunt didn't have flour.
My grandma never had flour in the house, and
What did she use in place of flour?
nothing. We use a lot of rice and rice flour.
Okay.
Yeah, we didn't have, this is special snacks.
You didn't have these all the time?
We had snacks at 3 o'clock every day, but not always sweet, like you can have fruits. We ate a lot of fruits and the mango, we ate them green or ripe yellow.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, but it's not surprising to eat sour mango with the fish sauce.
Oh my goodness.
I know, we're weird that way, but.
This is a question for Carolyn and for Angie. Carolyn, what kind of food are you looking forward to having once you return to the Philippines that you remember as a child? And for Angie, if you went back to the Philippines, what food would you get immediately?
I really like the turon that you saw Angie holding up, the bananas, the fried bananas.
Mhm.
And then you make them with a special banana. It's a cooking banana. So it's a little bit like a plantain.
Okay.
It's a- yeah, that's really good. I like that.
Oh, saba.
Mhm.
But when I go back home, there's, you know, the little anchovies. You can get it fresh in the market, and then you soak it in sugarcane vinegar, and then let it sit there an hour, half an hour. You see, I can't find that here.
Sounds delicious.
It's better than the pickled herring. I like pickled herring, but I prefer that anchovy in vinegar. Oh, remember, Pastor Caroline, the banana ketchup?
Yes, banana ketchup is red like ketchup. It's a little bit sweet and a little bit hot, a little bit spicy. Yeah.
It sounds like
That's
Mexico.
ketchup.
Sounds like Mexico. Wow.
Yeah.
So Angie, you're also on for telling us about how to make these crafts. Now I remind everybody that the lantern star for the greeting cards is one of the ones I'm encouraging you to do and make those cards so that we have them later. But the paper parole, which I think most of you have seen the pictures from the handouts, this is hanging, this turquoise colored one is hanging in the church office because she made that
Oh,
to show.
It's a Christmas thing to hang that outside your house for Christmas. Yeah.
There you go,
oh.
there. So, Angie, do you want to tell us a little bit about how to do that? She's got good.
Cards first.
Yeah, start with that.
Oh,
Okay.
They're easy, right?
Yes. So you have your small paper in there and cut into square.
Mm-hmm.
Paper. Red paper.
You have your square paper.
Mine was.
Fold it in half.
Angie?
Now take the bottom and let it fold to the top.
Angie?
Yeah.
Is this the paper you're talking about?
Like the smaller one.
The hard cardboard one?
So here it is.
It's not purple. Oh, it was, yeah,
there
she's
is
got
this
that.
I think everybody's is a different color. So
Yes.
this is the card. Angie, are you talking about the card or are you talking about the paper? Color.
Paper.
Oh, that card is the oh here.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
This is the template, and you cut your paper this size.
Okay.
Oh,
Okay.
You can make two out of this one.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, so the small one, that's a template, the cardboard one, and then
That's
you
a
cut,
template.
you cut your paper.
it's a template.
Yes.
So how many squares do you need?
You can make either two or one.
So you use one square for each star?
Yes.
She has a pretty good description in there with pictures. Thank you so much. So I can work on that later too. But
Yeah, so cut your paper to that square.
okay.
Oh, I got it.
We're looking for colors. Please.
Okay, once I get to here, what do I do?
Okay, then lift this up.
Yeah, your pizza.
Yeah.
Let it meet the end there. And twist it halfway. You press this part halfway.
He cuts some material, usually gets to the tip.
Well, I don't know if it's not in there, and I don't know what you use.
Here's a piece of this.
You get that part?
I mean, the scissors.
Is that version, is that 3 that you're on there? That's the one I can't quite figure out what we're supposed to do.
It looks like she's on 3.
Next door.
On your picture here, that's what she's asking you. Or are you on step 3?
I'm on step,
Yes.
Crease left half only.
It seemed like she had it in the red. Open paper, bring bottom left corner to the fold.
okay, are you all here?
Yes, got that one.
And now open it.
Okay.
Take that corner.
Hold it up.
Take that corner and make a triangle there.
Yep.
And then crease it.
What?
Okay.
Now when you open, you have an intersection there.
Mm-hmm.
Uh-huh.
The other end, Tom.
Hmm?
The other end. Oh.
See it intersected there? Just put a little dot.
Yes.
Okay.
Now grab this corner and let it meet the dot. See that corner? It's meeting that dot.
Yes.
Yeah, what you're doing now.
Got it?
Yes.
Now take that flap and go back. That corner was on the dot. Now you go back and make a triangle.
Ooh.
Okay, what's here? Now you go back.
You have to open your thing. I don't know. Oh.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know now. I can see it.
Mm-hmm.
Triangle.
Okay, now take this side and let it meet the side of that triangle.
I don't know.
Okay, what's here? Now fold it there.
Okay. Got it.
Well, I didn't get it. Well,
Now put the triangles back to back so you fold it back.
I don't know if this one goes in.
Okay, so it was like that. Now go back.
Oh.
Okay.
Okay,
Okay.
I'll take this little one here,
Yeah.
flip it like this. Bend it over.
Hold on.
Okay, so this little one, you just make it meet the other side, like there. Okay, do you have the small one? Now open it back up and cut there. See where it creases? Open it and cut right there. Get like this. We cut right there. You should end up with this triangle.
Triangle. Jeez. Oh, boy.
Now you can make little designs on the side. You just,
See these
Yeah.
on the corner.
just cut on the sides here before you open it up. See, like that, I cut some, I make little cuts there. So now go ahead and open. It's origami only.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah. Beautiful.
What happened, Nancy?
I don't know.
Practice.
When we glue that on the card, are we supposed to glue it flat or are we supposed to let it pop up?
Well, you just put little tape on the
Flat.
tip. If you put tape on the tips, it will kind of like float some.
Okay.
Yeah, you want it not completely flat.
You don't want it flattened.
What's going to happen when you put it in the envelope though?
Yeah, it'll flatten out.
It'll flatten a little bit, but
Yeah, a little bit.
Okay.
show us yours again on the blue one, Angie. Hold the blue card up. Okay. See, it's just a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right.
Okay. Next.
Why she pointed it.
I'm going to be practicing that one on a bunch of white paper until I get it figured out, and then I'll do it on the good paper.
You can always call Angie and say, wait a minute, I don't see it. So Angie, do you want to show us a little bit about how to make the big one?
Yes. You have this paper?
Yeah, big paper.
That big one.
This paper.
Yeah.
Now make a triangle.
Okay. Angie and Carolyn, when they do this for Christmas, is there a traditional color or do they use just any colors for Christmas?
Actually, the one for Christmas is more complicated. You make it with strips of bamboo and then you put colored paper on the back.
Yeah, okay.
They have contests for whose is the prettiest, and you can make them little, you can make them huge, and usually there's a lantern inside, so they're lit from the inside. Yeah, but they're multicolored.
Okay.
Nancy, that's not the paper. That's the tail. Nancy, that's for the tail.
No wonder I couldn't
You want
get
this one?
it. Okay, now I know. Here.
Okay, make a triangle. Now let the corners meet again so you have a right triangle.
I'll turn it.
It was like this, and you go like. Now, where there's a fold, you take your
Okay.
scissors, make 4 cuts. See, the fold is here and the flap is here. So you cut it from here, but don't go all the way. You don't go all the way. That means there 1, 2, 3, 4 little strips and a triangle on top.
Right.
It's tough.
Those I just have to grab. I have to stop and stir the pot. You got 2 there?
Okay.
I just have 1.
Are y'all okay?
Uh-huh.
Let's open it up.
In the center folder.
It looks like that. Oh, you got it, Nancy. This is just a representation of the lantern. These, you know, like Pastor Caroline said, this is not how we make it.
I cut 2 at the same time.
Oh, that was smart.
Yeah.
Are y'all ready? Take the 2 flaps in the middle
Okay.
and put them overlapping each other. Like that. And then you put a tape.
Oh, I didn't get tape.
Or glue.
Oh, glue either.
Or it's all tape.
Or staples.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I'm gonna use. I know where my stapler is.
Yeah. It will be when I'm done.
Yes, I don't. Oh, well.
Okay, you got it. Now you turn it around. Take the second one and overlap it with the tip of the other one.
4 of them.
This.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Okay, now turn it around again.
I don't know what to do in the middle.
Take the next ones and let them overlap again. Like this.
You
Oh,
stick.
boy.
when we get to that part, that pointed part, you have to,
There, it's,
yeah.
Okay, go ahead. Others, turning around and make the tip meet again.
Why are we making these? You can't send them something. Yeah.
These are only for you. We're not doing anything with these necessarily. We're just making this as a typical decoration. I heard somebody say, why are we making these? When you get a beautiful thing that you're going to hang on your door to your house. So, I don't know, unless you think of a good reason to do something with them.
Can you come here and show us how to do this?
Oh,
We've done it the wrong way, I think 5 times already.
uh-oh.
Well, we'll just get one part of this made, and then you can see, Nancy's got hers. Looks great.
Oh, there.
Everybody can-
Hers, yes.
Diane.
Let's start again. Does that roll?
we should make it 2
It
right.
takes 6 of these to make this beautiful thing that she makes. So
Yeah, you're gonna make 6 of these.
Okay,
Then what do you do?
I've got 2 made.
that's good.
Oh, but I didn't twist it on the other side. Okay.
Yeah, you have to twist.
It's good, Karen.
There you go.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, like there it is. Yeah. Just a small, not just a little part. Not the other split ones. Yeah.
I would imagine that we could get these all together and hang them in the narthex.
Yeah, you wouldn't each have to make 6. Only 6 of you would have to make one and then put them together.
All together.
There we go. Now we're talking.
I love it.
Some of these we can give them to the preschool and they can hang them up in their hallway. I mean, I think there are lots of things you could do with these. And
Even one like this.
yeah, she's got 2 of them there.
Ivy's got a tape right here, do you?
Here.
Well,
So before we quit on this craft thing, I want you to show us how to make the tail.
Oh,
Give people a chance
Wow.
to make 6 of these. You don't have to finish it now, but I want to know how to make this tail.
never tear.
Now I know.
you take your tissue
Yeah.
and fold it in half.
Tissue paper.
To fold it in half, like to make a triangle, or fold it in half to make a rectangle?
Make a rectangle.
Okay, thank you.
Then fold again so you have 4. Square,
A square, okay.
like a square, not quite.
Yeah, okay.
Now make a rectangle, a triangle.
Triangle.
There you go.
A big square? Doesn't look that big. Is it double square? Like this? I was doing that, but I didn't see how it started.
Fold it again so you have now another smaller triangle.
We need to go down to church and talk to her.
Angie? Can you show us that again? I mean, what it looks like?
So you have the big one.
Yeah. Fold it.
Half,
Right.
then make a triangle
Okay. Got that.
and then fold it again.
Okay. Yeah.
So from the top, we're gonna start cutting, but don't go all the way there.
I don't know.
Are you cutting through the fold? Not through the fold side.
But not all the way through.
Yes, not all the way through.
All on the same side?
Oh, there you go. No, not on the same side. Okay, after the first cut, you turn it around.
Okay.
Hey, I finished the first one.
All right.
Good. Very good. Time to go.
Slightly misshapen.
We're a little bit 2 steps behind, but we're catching up.
That's okay.
Okay, after the first cut, you need to turn it around. And do
So it
another-
looks like that.
On the folded side.
the
Okay.
second cut, you need to turn it again. You just keep turning. It's kind of zigzag.
Oh,
Yes.
oh, okay.
I know I should have gone the other direction.
Now you stop like about an inch above the bottom
Okay.
triangle.
Yeah.
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 Okay. Now open it up carefully.
Sure.
It doesn't look good when our instructor has made a grimaced face. That means.
I think I did something wrong. I need more tissue paper.
You all are braver than we are. We're gonna wait.
I would say I gotta get some more tissue paper.
Well, the good thing is I have a lot of tissue paper. I hope you do.
I do too.
I do too.
I think the China.
I don't think this is.
So when you open it up, what happens, Angie? Oh, I see. Yeah.
Oh yeah, mine's definitely long.
Oh, it's beautiful.
I need to have more.
Oh my gosh.
That's put it at the bottom.
Oh, oh dear.
Beautiful.
That's lovely. I'm gonna have to practice on this one.
Yeah.
Did anyone else manage to do it?
Halfway.
Looks like the Andersons might have got it.
It looks like it. Yeah, way to go. Nice.
I don't think so.
No.
Something happened.
Oh, there you go, Les.
Oh,
Les got it.
I didn't open it up all the way. Nope, it's not right.
No, mine isn't either.
I have to start that again.
I'm the rest of us. Starting again.
I think there's a question about how close to the edge do you cut it in order to get what Angie has.
Not too far. I mean, maybe about half an inch.
Yeah, if you don't get that close, why you don't get the effect that you show. Mine is cut, but not that closely.
It also depends how many cuts you make.
The closer to.
Yeah, you gotta put it really close to the edge. And you
Together, mine. Yeah.
We still get to sing this song. Oh, here.
Okay, well, I know that we're halfway through this, but we don't have time to finish it. And I see that Paulita has come on, and we're going to be ready to try to sing a song. So you should have gotten in your packet a song called When Twilight Comes.
Another card. Something to put in there.
So go looking for that. So remember, your stars are to go on the cards, and this is to make for as a hanging. We can talk in future weeks what to do with it. If you're still struggling with it next week, let us know. So get your song out.
I had the music. Oh, no.
Yeah. So when we get ready to go, Paulita is going to really do it for us. Is Avery there too, Paulita? I can't tell. She's muted. Paulita, you're muted.
Can I just chime in to make the introductions to Paulita and Carolyn? So, and Paulita used to work with a United Methodist Church. And so we have this nice ecumenical thing going on here. So, and I think, as you know probably already, Paulita, and there's Avery, Paulita's daughter, and our pianist or organist, substitute organist in the background. What was I going to say? I was going to say, yes, the ecumenical connections, because Paulita has strong United Methodist background. And Avery, you're still a member of a United Methodist Church, right?
I am indeed. It's still in Lubbock.
There we go. And so this is one of your missionaries with the United Methodist Mission Organization. So, okay, now that we have that all over with.
Remind you that when we do this, everyone except Paulita has to mute because of the asynchronous thing. So we'll be all messed up. So we'll just sing along in your home, and Paulita will lead us.
Right. So this hymn is a Filipino tune. It's called Dapit Hapon. And Angie, if I said that completely wrong, please let me know, because I'm not sure how to say it. The neat thing about this song is that it is connected with Maundy Thursday. And it's really beautiful in that it talks about the mothering side of God. At the same time, it talks about the Last Supper and sharing meals and the nourishment of being part of a family. So this is When Twilight Comes.
I'm going to have to check the top.
When twilight comes and the sun sets, mother hen prepares for night's rest. As her brood shelters under her wings, She gives the love of God to her last. Oh, what joy to feel her warm heart beat, let me near her all night long. So the young can find repose, then renew tomorrow's song. One day the Rabbi, Lord Jesus, called the 12 to share his last meal. As the hands are young, so for them he spent himself to seek and to heal. Oh, what joy to be with Christ Jesus, hear his voice, so she delight, and receive his servant care, all before the coming night. So gather round once again, friends, touched by fading glow of sun's gold, and recount all our frail human hopes, the dreams of young and stories of old. Oh, what joy to pray close together, feeling as one family, by a mother's love embraced in the blessed Trinity. There you go.
Thanks once again for joining us on this. So the part we haven't gotten to yet is something we started last week, and that is that I'm going to share my screen to show you the ELCA's website on global mission. Last time we looked at what was going on in Europe, and I'm going to take us to the Asia and Pacific area. And I know nothing about this, so I'm just showing you the website. And you are free to tell me where to navigate, where you want to see. I hope our pastors will chime in, or Carolyn, to see what's going on, even on the ELCA side. Oh, great. All right, here we are. I came into the, I probably should have started exactly where I started. Yeah, here we are. So if you come into this ELCA Global Missions area and you go down a little bit, it says where we work. And last time I showed you Europe, and I was just going to look at Asia and the Pacific. And we'll navigate a little bit through here. And I think there might be a part in here that actually talks about the partnership with the United Methodist Church, but I'm going to click right here right now so you can see it says, how can we support global things? There's ways to give. I want you to know how to get to here no matter what. And I'm now going to wait to see what pastors think I should do here in case you want to, or you want me to go some other website. So I'm not sure where this is that it takes us to the partnership with United Methodist Church. Do you know? All right, it's complete silence out there.
Yeah, but Krista's muted.
Krista and Wayne and Carolyn, if you want me to go to some other website, I'll be glad to do that too. But I just wanted to give us a chance to talk about global missions.
Wayne's muted too.
I cannot unmute them. I can only ask them.
Can you scroll up and down a little further so we can see some of the other links?
Well, this is the beginning of the ELCA's global mission.
Uh-huh.
I can go to the home of that. Well, here's global mission. Again, I'm at ELCA, so.
So I did look at this not too long ago, but I have to admit, yeah, it should have something about.
So let me go up here. Let's see. I'm in global mission.
Well, I think, you know what, maybe we should go to the Lutheran World, the LWF site, if you haven't done that yet. That just gives us a really global perspective.
The Lutheran World Relief?
No, Lutheran World Federation.
World Federation.
Okay.
Although Church World Service is probably the one that's more ecumenical, but we can go back to that in a moment. Okay. So this is the Lutheran World Federation site, and if you scroll up, it's just interesting. I think many people don't know how rich our church is around the world, and it should maybe about LWF, just to give us all a little bit of an overview. This is, I'll be honest, one of my little struggles with the ELCAs. They talk about the 3 levels of church as far as the congregations, and then the regional synods, and then the ELCA. But
and there's one more level.
One more level, and I think, yeah, that the biggest level is really important, and that is the Lutheran World Federation. If you click on About LWF, it'll just give you an overview about, yeah, right here, About LWF. It should somewhere say how many, yes, okay, LWF, do you see, we were just there. LWF is a global communion of 148 churches in the Lutheran tradition, representing over 77.8 million Christians in 99 countries. I just think that's so fabulous, that we are such a large church, and that we, European American folks are in the minority. Do you know which is the largest of the Lutheran churches? And Carolyn and Wayne, you can correct me. I think, Nancy, I think you tried to say something, but you are on mute. Anyone want to guess which is the largest of the Lutheran churches around the world?
According to the bishop, it was Africa.
Yeah.
Well, there's, you know, as Africa's a big continent, and there's lots of different countries and lots of different Lutheran churches in Africa, but which is the single largest Lutheran church body? Like, we're the ELCA in the United States. Which is the single largest church body?
Ethiopia?
That was a great guess. Anybody else want to guess?
Batak Lutheran Church in Indonesia.
I believe that's correct. That's what I think is correct. But anyway, all of you can search the LWF site and find out if what Carolyn and I just said is true. But I believe it is.
But the Ethiopian church it must be a close second, because it is huge.
Okay, see, I didn't know that.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just scrolling down so you can tell me if there's something that...
Communion and the history of it, and... I
mean, for one thing, I just want to encourage you to go find out about these things. So even if we don't explore it a lot now, everyone can go and see. What
Yeah,
other?
and what I love about the LWF is it really was formed as a diaconal ministry. You know, how do we respond to the ravages of the war? So it was really after World War II that the Lutheran churches came together and said, how can we serve people in the aftermath of all the carnage of World War II? So that's from the beginning, this community was formed, not only from doctrine, which is very important, but also with this desire to reach out and help people of not only Lutherans, but to help the Lutherans work together to serve the world, which I just think is such a beautiful way of that the Lutheran World Federation was formed.
All right, would you like me to move to a different site? You all were mentioning another site besides the Lutheran World Federation.
No,
Wayne, you're
It's interesting. Germany has the most with 11 million, then Ethiopia with 7.8 million, Tanzania with 6.5 million, Sweden 6.1, Indonesia 5.5, Denmark 4.3, India 4. Madagascar 4, Finland 3.95, Norway 3.7, United States 3.5. We're 11th.
So I was wrong.
I was too. I was too. Yeah.
okay. If I head back to, well, I guess it's not going to tell me there. Let's go back to here. I don't think the other link you were talking about was there.
Church World Service.
Oh,
That's
Church World Service. Okay.
And I think that may be, I believe that's the more ecumenical one.
Yes,
Okay.
it is.
So do you want me to hit about here?
Well, it'd be interesting just to look at what they're doing in the Philippines, wouldn't it be? Can we do a search for what they're doing in the Philippines?
Maybe under our work. Oh,
I'm just searching.
Yeah, let's try that.
And Church World Service is known for its crop walks. And we used to participate, our church used to participate in those in Ames, around maybe 3-4 mile walks for Church World Service.
You know what? These guys need to update their website. This is just a song. Oh, good. They have something from 2019 down in there.
Yeah, I was trying to see. These are like, of course, I just did a search instead of something kind of like really relevant. I can try what you suggested before, which is go to our work in Asia.
Oh, yeah. Oh.
Oh, wait, I slipped off. Sorry. In Asia. It doesn't seem to have a section on the Philippines.
Nope. So it's, yeah. But my understanding is Church World Service. Yeah, maybe go into about. It'd be interesting just to see if that's as ecumenical an organization as I believe it is.
it is. It's Protestant, but also I know sometimes Orthodox churches participate in CWS projects as well.
I don't think it's a very good area to look at. I mean, I'm just saying the about seems to be much more
Okay.
not what we're looking for to talk about right now.
More institutional, yeah.
So
Or
maybe one more
institutional
time
database.
back and let's look at Lutheran World Relief and see if they're doing anything if they have a more recent track record in
I better agree to these things or I'm not getting to see. Let's see.
I love Lutheran World Relief, I must say, because it's one of the last organizations, correct me if I'm mistaken, that where our synods do work together. The Missouri Synod and the ELCA still work together for world relief. And I just think that's a beautiful thing.
So this, I followed the link for what they're doing in the Philippines in World Relief.
Great.
Oh, good. We could learn about the Philippine church there probably. This is a featured project. You need to guide me. I'm the mouse runner here.
If you click on learn more about Lutheran World Relief in the Philippines, would you click on download now or?
I think I would.
You want me to go to download now?
Yeah, why don't you? And then let's see if we can get it. Then you'll have to download it and put it up on the screen.
There you go.
Good work, Judy. You're a lot better at this than I would be.
It looks like the work is in the southern Philippines, mostly. The Muslim area down in the south.
So it's good to know, again, through our offerings to the Synod, which the Synod then gives to the ELCA, a big portion of it. There is some money that goes from the ELCA as a whole into Lutheran World Relief. So when we are giving through our church, we are also helping to support some of these relationships.
Okay, well, have we explored all of this that we need to right now? Anybody have any questions? Not that I know anything, but about where to go look here. You've got these pastors here that might want to send us somewhere.
Yeah, boy, would they like to send us off.
I don't know. I meant on the web. I didn't mean physically send us somewhere. I know it's one of the things that we're wanting to explore at St. Luke is more global connections. I mean, that was part of the impetus behind having the Elders Alive group start looking at some of this. But
right. Myanmar and all of us, Carolyn and I and Wayne have been to Myanmar as well, where there's some young, very young and vibrant churches. So Lutheran churches are at work, and it's part of what's the Lutheran identity. Sometimes we find our identity again in the act of service and in the act of relationships with people who are very different from ourselves. We learn more about God that way and God's work in the world. And so, so I just really, I'm so excited about Carolyn being giving of herself. I mean, having really, we talk about taking risks. Here she is. She's really given herself to now take on a new challenge in the Philippines. I think it's just wonderful that we are part of a larger church that enables people like Carolyn to be to give of themselves, but also. Now I'm going to get warmed up here. Thinking about theological education is so important. That's one of the things that we saw when we were in Hong Kong is there were all these young churches in Asia, but there's a lot of, because they're so young, they didn't have that theological background and stability and the understanding of church history, so they don't need to make some of the same mistakes that have been made in church history. to support theological education, I just don't see a downside to that. It's such an important way to help strengthen young churches around the world. And churches are still growing in other parts of the world. We're struggling here in the U.S. as we see the age of the faces in front of us, but on the other hand, we have these incredible resources because we do have education and wisdom, and to be able to help to support very young churches like Carolyn is reaching out to, I think is just one of the best things about being part of a bigger church, a denomination that's around the whole world and works with partners.
So one of the last things we like to do is to ask all of you to contribute to the discussion of what did we learn today? What did you really like? Something that we can do to improve our last couple of sessions, but also just insights that you had into today's discussions. So you can now unmute.
I just like to say thank you to Pastor Schneider. To me, it was very useful to have someone actually, we have our own two pastors who've been in Golden Mission, but to have one currently doing this and to hear what's happening. And I think, I'll look forward to the next two presentations from that perspective, because we've got people who are actually there now doing it. And so thank you.
You're welcome.
I'd like to say that I'll look forward to the recording, Judy. I was off screen for about 40 minutes today, where I could only hear you now and then. So I missed some of it, but maybe I can catch up at another time.
Yeah, I've still got it recording. I'm going to be sorry. It's going to be huge, but.
I'm sorry, what was that?
I said I've still got it recording. The problem is that the file gets so big, but let's see what I can do. I'm going to get some technical help here. So.
Okay. I don't know what happened. I just suddenly was off screen.
I don't know either. I saw you. I brought you back in a couple of times, but.
Maybe you can make two videos out of it. Just find a place in the middle where it can break into two.
Yes, I agree. More comments?
I think one of the.
Go
ahead.
I just want
Angie
to
first.
Well, thank you, Angie, for all your help today, by the way.
Yes.
Thank you. Appreciate that very much.
Thank you.
I can't, I'm just so flabbergasted because Pastor Caroline was right there. I mean, we were neighbors. I was born at St. Luke's and I went to school at St. Joseph's. And then your parents were in Baguio? Oh, you were there? And that's where my father was. We still have a house there. And my brother is a missionary there. He went back with his family. He adopted a little boy. He's redhead and blue-eyed. He now speaks Filipino.
Oh.
And I always pray for his wife. She's a Mexican American, and I can't imagine what she's going through. But I thank you for ministering to those Filipinos because it's hard over there. Life there is hard.
Walang anuman.
And Lorna, you had some comments?
Well, I was just thinking the advantage of something like this is that it stretches our mind that our church is so large and that we focus in on the church at large, not just within our own community and our own struggles and our own parish, etc., but that we can think globally. and be more conscientious about how we are also a part of it, because the body of Christ is extremely large. And we may be, you know, the hands and the feet, or the mouthpiece that spreads the word about all these different places. I've always been interested in global missions. My sister was in Papua New Guinea for 20 years, where I was able to visit her for a month, but I've always had interest in it. And I think it just broadens our own minds when we think of the church at large, and that God is present and working so very well through us as servants throughout the world. And that even when we celebrate the Eucharist, always think about those people that look different, speak differently, are in a different language, that we're all together at that table together. And what a joy that is to feel that and to know that. And this program is helping us do that. So thank you, Judy, and anybody who's been involved in getting it together. Thank you.
All right, if no one has more comments, I'm going to play this video. Oh yeah, sorry, Wayne, Pastor Wayne.
No, I think it's great, the spirit of the seminary and you, Carolyn, that you don't have to be perfect. You didn't know how to, you know, just when all this all started, and few people knew about how to do things really well online, but you're all doing it and it's working out well. And I love that spirit. Thank you.
Carolyn, are you teaching through Zoom or are you using a different platform?
We're using Google Classroom because it is a lower resolution. Zoom is too high resolution, and the students are really struggling with internet connections where they live in the various provinces. So we have to use the lowest possible resolution, which is Google Classroom.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I'm going to share the screen for this beautiful 50 COVID-affected countries singing Amazing Grace. I hope it works this time. I had some trouble last week.
In grace, how sweet the sound. 我最意的赦免。Fui ciego, mas hoy miro yo. Perdutor salvo soy. Bendiga
So much has changed in our world lately.
疫情中这么多人失去生命，显明了生命的脆弱与短暂。
Pero la asombrosa gracia y amor de Jesús es más fuerte que la vida y la muerte.
Wo auch immer du bist, ruf seinen Namen an. Jesus.
Jésus.
Isa.
Isa Masih. Jesucristo.
Yeshua. Jesus.
Don't wait another day.
I keep getting these messages that my speakers are messed up, so I hope you heard it, but there's so much that's written on the screen. Hopefully you got the gist of it. It is quite.
Oh, it's wonderful.
Yeah.
So this is the end of our program. I know we would like to thank Dr. Carolyn Snyder for her presentation and her participation today. And I know I would like to thank Angie for all her work on the information, and Pastor Chuck on his work on helping us get information about the area. I hope that you learned something today, and that we will see you again next week to learn about the Navajos.
It was very good to be with you. Thank you for inviting me.
Thank you, Carolyn.
Thank you, Carolyn. And Angie. Very much.
We look forward to possibly hearing more from you, Carolyn, the next time, maybe live from the Philippines, but we'll see.
Oh, Pastor Caroline, make sure you eat oysters there. That's where we used to get oysters.
Eat oysters, but
we drove 2 hours to get there.
Okay, well, I'm going to sign off if everyone.
Okay. And thank you, Judy.
Thank you, Judy.
Yeah, thank you, Judy. Wow, yes.
Yeah.